My neighbor has been mowing his lawn for 12 hours straight. It started at 4:43 a.m. The sound yanked me out of sleep like a truck revving inside our bedroom. The walls vibrated. Exhaust fumes slipped in through the open window. It was a brutal way to wake up. "What is that?" my wife Vanessa moaned. We'd barely slept. Our daughter Keegan had crawled into our bed around 1 a.m. and kicked us in the face until we were both hanging halfway off the mattress while she snored peacefully between us. "Probably the apocalypse," I muttered. "Try to go back to sleep." "There's no way," Vanessa said. She rolled out of bed and slammed the window shut. It helped, but not much. The noise still chewed through the glass. She pulled the curtain back and stared outside. "It's the neighbor. He's mowing his lawn before the sun's even up." Keegan started crying. That was it. The day had officially started. I dragged myself into the kitchen and started the coffee. I cut toast into animal shapes because Keegan demanded it. No Smarties, just toast. While the coffee brewed, I looked out the living room window. Mr. Limsky was out there, bathrobe, slippers. Lawn mower roaring like it had something to prove. I didn't want to deal with him. I barely wanted to exist. Talking to Mr. Limsky was the last thing I needed before sunrise. By the time my brain was functioning, it was almost 6. I'd had 4 cups of coffee. He was still mowing. That didn't make sense. His lawn was small, 40 minutes maybe less, but an hour had passed, then more. I pulled on some clothes and stepped outside. My own lawn needed mowing too, which annoyed me even more. I thought briefly about offering a trade. He mows mine, promises never to start this early again, but I knew I wouldn't. I hated confrontation. As I got closer, I noticed something wrong. The lawn was already done, perfectly even, no missed spots, no uneven patches. He was mowing it again. I stood at the property line and waved my arms. He didn't look up. I shouted. Couldn't hear myself over the engine. I walked closer, right up behind him. "Hey, nothing." I tapped his shoulder. "Nothing." He just kept pushing the mower forward, eyes locked ahead. That's when I saw it. A thin stream running down his bare leg. Urine. I stepped back, stomach twisting. I went home. Vanessa was reading to Keegan at the table. She looked up. "Well, he couldn't hear me," I said, "and something's wrong. I think he wet himself." Keegan laughed. I didn't. "There's more," I said. "The lawn was already finished. He's mowing it again." Vanessa frowned. "That's not normal." By 8 o'clock I was cooking bacon and Mr. Limsky was still mowing, not slowing down, not stopping. Just pushing the mower back and forth like the yard owed him something. I tried to ignore it. The smell of bacon helped a little. Normal things helped. But the sound never stopped. It sat in my head like a drill. "After breakfast we should go somewhere," I said. "It's a nice day, no reason to stay trapped here." "Why does Mr. Limsky keep mowing?" Keegan asked. "I don't know, kiddo," I said. I didn't like how quickly I answered. "You want to go to the playground?" She lit up immediately. "I'm going to try to sleep," Vanessa said, "if that's okay." "Of course," I said, though I didn't believe it would work. We ate, I packed snacks, Keegan and I left. At the playground, I tried to focus on pushing swings and watching slides, but my phone buzzed constantly. 9 o'clock, he's still mowing. 9:30, I'm really starting to worry. 10 o'clock, I tried talking to him. He didn't respond. "Please come home." I stared at the screen longer than I should have. I rounded Keegan up and drove home. The closer we got, the worse I felt. A heaviness settled in my chest, something cold and instinctive. "You're afraid of an old man mowing a lawn," I told myself. Yes, I was. I turned onto our street. He was still there. Same pace, same line, same mechanical motion. I parked and noticed a darker streak running down his leg. I couldn't tell if it was urine or something else. The apple tree shaded him, hiding details I didn't want to see. Inside, Vanessa sat at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. Her eyes were sunken. "Please make it stop," she said. "I don't know how," I replied. "Call the police." I hesitated. "What do I even say?" "I don't care," she snapped. "Just call." She told me she'd watched him refuel while still pushing the mower. Gas can in one hand, throttle still down. I called. The conversation was humiliating. Explaining it out loud made it sound ridiculous. A retired neighbor mowing too long, acting strange, refusing to respond. They said they'd send someone. We waited. The squad car pulled into Mr. Limsky's driveway about 15 minutes later. I watched from the living room window. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. The sound of the mower hadn't stopped once since morning, and somehow that made everything feel worse, like the world had forgotten how to interrupt itself. One officer stepped out of the car, middle-aged, calm, no urgency in his movements. He walked toward Mr. Limsky with the patience of someone expecting an easy conversation. He waved, nothing. He shouted, nothing. The mower screamed between them, chewing the same grass it had already chewed all day. The officer stepped closer. He reached out and grabbed Mr. Limsky's shoulder, spinning him around. The mower stopped moving for the first time all day. It didn't shut off. The officer frowned and reached for the handle, noticing the safety shutoff taped down. He opened his mouth to say something. Mr. Limsky opened his, something slid out. It was long, thin, wet. It moved with purpose. The tentacle wrapped around the officer's neck and lifted him clean off the ground. His feet kicked uselessly in the air. Before he could scream, a second tentacle pushed into his mouth and forced its way down his throat. I stumbled backward and slammed the curtains shut. My legs shook. My stomach flipped hard. Behind me, the mower started moving again. "What's happening?" Vanessa called from the kitchen. "Did the police show up?" I couldn't answer. After a moment, I forced myself to look again. The officer was back on the ground, alive, holding a weed whacker. He was trimming around the apple tree. Mr. Limsky was behind him, pushing the mower like nothing had happened. Vanessa came to the window and pulled the curtain aside. "Oh my God," she whispered. We stood there watching in silence. The noise never stopped. By 5 p.m., things had escalated beyond anything I could comprehend. Besides Mr. Limsky, 4 officers were in his yard doing various tasks. One was still wielding a weed whacker. Another attacked the shrubs with a pair of clippers. But the one who caught my attention the most was spraying the ground with a neon blue liquid. It glistened in the late afternoon sun, bright and unnatural. I realized with a shiver that this was the same substance Mr. Limsky had vomited earlier. I was standing in my driveway, frozen, wondering how much longer this could go on. How could this be real? 4 uniformed cops, my neighbor mowing like a machine, and now someone spraying luminous fluid onto the lawn as if performing a ritual. Then came the Toyota Camry. It barreled into the yard, wrapping around the old apple tree. A woman jumped out wearing a gas mask and a plastic poncho, stumbling slightly from the crash. She was furious, wild-eyed. I could see the panic radiating from her movements. "Damn it, Kelly," she shouted. "No more driving for you ever." She pulled something out from under her poncho. Not a gun, not anything I could describe without shaking. A blaster, something made to destroy. She aimed at Mr. Limsky and fired. The explosion that followed was unimaginable. Neon blue gore sprayed across the yard. Tentacles flailed in the air. I turned away, gagging, and accidentally noticed a warmth spreading down my leg. I had wet myself. Vanessa stood frozen behind me, covering Keegan's eyes. My daughter squirmed, trying to see. I was too petrified to move. Then she turned to the 4 officers. One by one, she fired. Each exploded into the same neon blue mess. They didn't get a chance to react. They weren't fighting. They were part of the surreal chaos unfolding in the yard I had once thought I knew. I crouched behind the car, thinking desperately about escape. How could we leave unnoticed? Would she notice us at all? "You," she shouted, spotting me, "hiding behind your car, stand up slowly." I obeyed, hands in the air. "Please don't blast me," I said. "I'm not one of them." "We'll see," she said, her voice muffled behind the mask. "Meanwhile, your neighbor, Mr. Limsky, he lived alone, yes?" "That's right," I said. I looked at the puddle of blue gore that had once been him. Poor guy. She gave strict instructions. We were to go inside our house. If I moved without her permission, my family wouldn't survive. I swallowed hard, nodding. My stomach churned, but I complied. Vanessa whispered to me, "Who is that? What's going on?" "I don't know," I said, "but she just destroyed our neighbors and the cops." We waited, silent, hearts hammering. 20 minutes later, 3 people approached our house. 2 women, 1 man, all in gas masks. The woman in front still carried the blaster, but her clothes were now Mr. Limsky's, clean of the neon slime. They reached our door. "Did you come into contact with any of them?" the lead woman asked. "No," I lied. "I don't understand what's happening. Who are you?" "Kelly Raymond," she said. "My boyfriend got infected, turned into something. I had to stop it." "Allie," said another woman, removing her mask. "And yes, zombies, they're real. The virus is spreading." The man spoke last. Martin Henwood, former colleague of Mr. Limsky. He tried to warn him. I stared at them, my mind spinning. Mortician, zombies, neon blue goo, my world had shattered. "It's not safe for you here anymore," Allie said. "We need to move. Your SUV will get us all out. Then we'll destroy Mr. Limsky's property and leave. You can come with us or stay behind." I looked at Vanessa and Keegan. We had no choice. We're on the road now. Allie was driving. Kelly and Martin sat in the back. Vanessa held Keegan, who was wide-eyed and trembling. I gripped the dashboard, trying to make sense of anything. It felt impossible. Our quiet suburban morning had turned into a nightmare of explosions, tentacles, neon blue gore, and now a road trip with zombie hunters. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting something to follow us, but there was nothing. Just empty streets, as if the world hadn't noticed what happened next door. Allie glanced at me. "We need to run diagnostics on the necklace," she said. "It's how this strain spreads. That's why Mr. Limsky, well, you saw," I swallowed. "The necklace, you mean that cursed thing turned him into whatever that was?" "Yes," Allie said, voice steady but urgent. "We believe it's a new variant of the virus. Can't be transmitted like the others, direct contact, close proximity. That's why he was still functioning in a way when you saw him." "Functioning?" I repeated. "Like alive?" "Yes. Not fully infected, but unstable. He couldn't stop himself. That's what you witnessed outside." Vanessa's hand tightened around Keegan's. "You mean he wasn't himself?" Allie nodded. "Exactly. And the police, well, some of them were affected in different ways. That's why Kelly had to neutralize them. It wasn't their fault." I leaned back in the seat, trying to breathe. The world I knew, the safe little bubble I'd lived in, had collapsed completely. Martin spoke quietly from the back. "Mr. Limsky was brilliant. He had experience with corpses. He'd seen strange cases before, but he never dealt with the necklace. He didn't know how to contain it. That's why he went out there, trying to manage it until it overwhelmed him." I glanced at him. "Manage it by mowing the lawn for 12 hours straight." Martin gave a small shrug. "Perhaps he thought repetition and control could stabilize it. Maybe he was just trapped by what he knew could happen." I shook my head. "Trapped? That's insane." "All of this is insane," Allie said sharply. "We've been tracking this strain. The virus mutates. Ordinary containment doesn't work anymore. That's why we move fast and quietly. No witnesses, no mistakes." I looked at Vanessa and Keegan. My daughter was trembling in her mother's arms, her little hands clasped together. This was no longer about lawns or neighbors. This was survival. "Where are we going?" I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "To a safe house," Allie said. "We run tests, we analyze the necklace. If we understand it, we can create a vaccine. If not," she didn't finish the sentence. I didn't need her to. We drove in silence for a few minutes. The air inside the SUV felt heavy. The world outside passed unnoticed. I kept thinking about Mr. Limsky, his blue-stained remains, the officers, all of it. My stomach roiled. I wanted to turn away from it, shut my eyes, pretend none of this was real. But it was real. Every horrifying, surreal detail was as real as the road under our wheels. Kelly spoke suddenly. "We need to stay focused. No mistakes. One slip, one wrong move, and your family is gone. Understood?" "Yes," I said. I clenched my hands, knuckles white. "Understood," Allie exhaled. "Good, that's all you can do right now. Follow instructions, stay calm." I nodded, knowing calm was the last thing I felt. The SUV moved on. Behind us, the sun was lowering in the sky, turning suburban streets golden, peaceful, and completely unaware of the nightmare that had just unfolded. We arrived at the safe house an hour later. It was a nondescript building tucked behind a row of abandoned warehouses. Nothing about it suggested the chaos we had just escaped, and that was exactly the point. I parked the SUV and stepped out, feeling the weight of the day pressing down on me. Vanessa held Keegan's hand tightly. I could feel her tension mirrored in my own muscles. Allie opened the rear doors and gestured for us to enter. "Stay close, do not touch anything," she warned. Kelly and Martin had already moved to the far end of the building, preparing equipment. There were tables, lab instruments, and small sealed containers glowing faintly under dim fluorescent lights. "What is all this?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. "All tests, analyses, containment gear," Allie replied. "We've been tracking the new strain for months. It started localized, then mutated. Ordinary measures don't work anymore. That necklace is, well, it's different, highly contagious, highly unpredictable." I looked at Vanessa and Keegan. My daughter's small face was pressed against her mother's chest. She didn't fully understand, but she could sense the tension. I felt helpless, knowing there was nothing I could do except follow orders. Martin began explaining. "We believe the necklace modifies the virus, enhancing its transmission. When a host wears it, they can partially control the infection temporarily. Mr. Limsky, he was trying to stabilize it using his routine. Mowing, repetition, it gave him focus, but it wasn't enough. The infection overwhelmed him." I swallowed hard. "And that explains the blue." "Yes," Allie said. "That's the fluid, that's what comes out when containment fails. It's dangerous, deadly. It changes everything it touches." Kelly, still tense from the road, held up a small vial containing the necklace. "We're running tests, we'll know more soon, but the clock is ticking. The virus mutates fast, and if we can't contain it, there's no telling where it could go." I nodded, trying to absorb it all. Mr. Limsky, the cops, the blaster, the tentacles, the blue fluid, it had all happened in a single day. And now in this quiet lab, it was as if the world expected me to process it calmly. I couldn't. My stomach ached, my hands shook, and my head felt like it might split in two. Allie noticed. "We're not here to lecture. We just need compliance. Follow instructions, stay calm, protect your family." I glanced at Vanessa. She was pale, holding Keegan like a shield. "We'll do what you say," I muttered. For the next hour, I watched as Allie and Martin conducted tests. The necklace was examined, documented, analyzed. Every movement of their hands was precise, careful. Kelly monitored readings on a laptop, making notes and occasionally adjusting equipment. I felt like a spectator in a world I didn't belong to, waiting for the next catastrophic revelation. Keegan eventually fell asleep on Vanessa's shoulder. I stood by the window looking out at the street, peaceful, silent. Yet the memory of what we'd escaped, blue goo, tentacles, a neighbor gone insane, lingered in every shadow. Allie walked over. "We're making progress," she said quietly. "But it's slow, we can't risk mistakes. You understand that, don't you?" "Yes," I said, voice barely audible. "I understand," she nodded. "Good, rest if you can, you'll need it, things are far from over." And in that moment I realized something terrifying. Even if we survived today, tomorrow could bring something far worse. Hours passed inside the safe house. The lab was quiet except for the hum of machines and the occasional click of keyboards. I had lost track of time. My mind kept replaying Mr. Limsky's yard. The mower, the tentacles, the neon blue chaos. Allie and Kelly had started running the necklace through a series of containment simulations. Every test made me more uneasy. I couldn't shake the thought that if something went wrong, it could all happen again right here, inside the safe house. Martin spoke softly from across the table. "The virus is more intelligent than we expected. It adapts. Mr. Limsky was fortunate in a way. He had knowledge and routine to delay the infection. But the necklace amplifies it beyond natural limits." I swallowed. "So he didn't stand a chance." "Not fully," Martin said. "He delayed the inevitable, but the strain was too strong. That's why it manifested the way you saw." I could barely nod. Vanessa's hand found mine, gripping tightly. She hadn't said a word since we arrived, but I could feel the tension radiating from her. Keegan was asleep, curled against her chest. Allie looked over at me. We're almost ready for the next phase, testing the necklace on a contained sample to understand the transmission vector. It's risky but necessary. If we don't understand it, people die. My stomach dropped. You're going to test it here? Yes, she said. We have protocols, containment, safety measures, no exposure. But we need to see it in action to know how it spreads. The sooner we act, the sooner we can stabilize it. I nodded mutely. I had no choice. Survival instincts had taken over. Protecting Vanessa and Keegan was all that mattered. The testing began. I watched powerless as Allie carefully positioned the necklace into a sealed chamber. Kelly monitored sensors and readouts. Martin documented every reaction, taking notes. Every second felt like an eternity. Then the chamber lit up. The neon blue fluid from earlier formed in a controlled simulation, swirling, pulsing. It was beautiful in a grotesque, terrifying way. I couldn't look away. What happens if it breaks containment? I asked, my voice trembling. Allie didn't flinch. Then we activate the lockdown protocols immediately, but it won't. We've designed the chamber for maximum security. I clenched my fists. The memory of the chaos outside our home, the lawnmower, the tentacles, the cops threatened to overtake me. I had to remind myself this was controlled. For now. Hours dragged on. Finally, the simulation concluded. The readings were logged, notes taken, observations recorded. The necklace's behavior was understood better than before. All right, Allie said finally, removing her gloves. We have the data we need. Next step, secure transportation. We're going to neutralize Mr. Limsky's property to prevent further contamination. Then we move full containment. No mistakes. I nodded again, swallowing the nausea rising in my stomach. Vanessa whispered, "Are we going to be okay?" I forced a smile I didn't feel. "We'll try," I said. "We have to." And in that moment, I realized that survival wasn't guaranteed. Every choice, every step forward carried risk, but we had no alternative. The world we knew was gone. Only this, moving forward, following instructions, staying alive mattered now. By nightfall, we were ready to move. Allie, Kelly, and Martin had prepared the SUV with containment supplies. Tools, vials, and protective gear were stacked neatly in the back. I checked on Vanessa and Keegan, who were huddled together, exhausted and pale. I felt a pang of guilt for dragging them into this nightmare, but there was no turning back. Allie gave the final instructions. We neutralize Mr. Limsky's property first. Anything left could spread the virus if discovered. After that, we're on the road, full containment, no deviations. I nodded. My hands were clammy. I had already seen what the virus could do. I had already watched neon blue fluid spray across a lawn, tentacles lash out, and even police officers meet strange fates. The SUV rolled slowly down the quiet streets. The neighborhood was empty, peaceful, unaware of the chaos that had consumed our block earlier. We reached Mr. Limsky's house. I stayed in the car with Vanessa and Keegan while the others went inside. I could see through the windshield. Allie and Kelly moving with purpose, masks on, gloves tight. Martin followed, documenting everything. Minutes stretched. The SUV felt claustrophobic, silent except for the hum of the engine. Keegan shifted in her mother's arms. I held my hand over hers, trying to offer reassurance I didn't feel myself. Then, from inside the house, a low rumble began. The neon blue fluid reacted. Small tentacle-like movements twitched through the liquid. I swallowed hard, knowing the dangers we had narrowly escaped before. Allie emerged first, carrying a sealed container. Kelly followed, lugging specialized equipment. Martin was last, ensuring documentation was complete. "Everything secured," Allie said, removing her mask. "Nothing left alive to contaminate. Mr. Limsky's property is neutralized." I exhaled slowly, feeling some weight lift off my chest. For the first time all day, the world felt a little less insane. "Good," I muttered. "Now we leave." The SUV pulled away, tires crunching on the driveway gravel. The neighborhood passed in a blur, familiar houses and streets now taking on a strange, almost sinister edge. Every shadow could conceal danger. Every sound could mean the virus had followed. Allie drove with precision. Kelly monitored a tablet showing virus containment protocols. Martin occasionally muttered observations. I held my family close, glancing at Vanessa and Keegan, both pale but alive. Hours passed in silence, broken only by occasional instructions or updates on the containment readings. Outside, the night deepened and the road stretched endlessly ahead. I realized then that survival wasn't about fighting. It wasn't about heroism. It was about following instructions, staying calm, and trusting those who knew more than I did. The world outside our SUV felt like it had shifted, twisted into something unfamiliar and dangerous. But inside, with my family and these strangers who had become our protectors, there was a fragile bubble of safety. Still, I knew one thing: nothing would ever be the same again. The SUV rolled steadily through the night. Streetlights passed in slow, uneven streaks. I sat in the front passenger seat, staring out the window, gripping the edge of the seat. Vanessa held Keegan in her lap, her hand over our daughter's eyes. I could feel Keegan trembling, her little body curled into Vanessa's. Allie drove with precision, eyes sharp on the road. Kelly monitored readings on her tablet, occasionally tapping a screen or adjusting dials. Martin was quiet, reviewing notes and occasionally whispering to himself about observations. "Where are we going?" I asked finally, voice low. "To a secondary safe house," Allie replied. "We need to test the necklace further and it's too dangerous to stay here. The virus is unpredictable. If it mutates again, we can't afford exposure." I nodded. "And Mr. Limsky?" "All neutralized, nothing left alive to spread the infection. It's contained for now, but we move fast, no mistakes." The hours dragged. Every passing car made my stomach twist. Every shadow against the roadside trees seemed alive. My mind kept replaying the day. The lawnmower, the tentacles, the neon blue slime, the cops, Mr. Limsky's house, all the chaos and destruction. "Do you think it's going to spread?" Vanessa whispered, clutching Keegan. I don't know," I admitted. "I hope not, but we have to assume it could." Allie glanced back at us. "That's why containment is critical. The necklace is a new variable. Highly contagious if mishandled. Even a small exposure could escalate." I swallowed hard. "Escalate?" "Yes," she said calmly. "Like what you saw earlier, chaos, tentacles, fluids. Things you don't want to imagine." I looked at Vanessa and Keegan. My daughter was finally asleep, her little chest rising and falling. The thought that she could be exposed to this horror made my hands shake. We drove for hours in tense silence. Occasionally, Allie or Kelly would check the readings, making slight adjustments to protocols. Every beep and flash from the tablets made my pulse jump. Finally, in the distance, faint lights appeared. A warehouse, secure and isolated, our secondary safe house. "All right," Allie said. "We're here, quick, careful, no mistakes." We unloaded the SUV, carrying equipment and protective gear. Every step felt heavy, like walking through thick fog. The memories of Mr. Limsky's lawn, the neon blue chaos, the tentacles, they pressed on my mind with unbearable weight. Inside, the safe house was quiet, secure. Containment chambers lined the walls, isolation rooms ready for testing, equipment humming softly, monitors glowing in dim light. "All right," Allie said, removing her mask. "We run final tests tonight. We'll analyze the necklace thoroughly, understand its mechanics. If we do this right, we may have a chance to prevent a full outbreak." I sat on a bench, holding Vanessa and Keegan close. My mind raced, trying to comprehend everything. The day's events, the destruction, the chaos, the neon blue slime, it all felt unreal, yet terrifyingly concrete. Allie, Kelly, and Martin moved efficiently, like a well-oiled machine, methodical and precise. I watched, knowing survival depended on their expertise, on my compliance, on following orders exactly. And as night deepened outside the warehouse, I realized one harsh truth. The world we knew was gone. There was no returning to normal. Only survival, only vigilance, and only hope that the chaos wouldn't catch up to us. Inside the secondary safe house, the tension was almost suffocating. Allie, Kelly, and Martin moved with deliberate precision, setting up containment protocols for the necklace. Each motion, each adjustment of the equipment made my pulse spike. Vanessa and Keegan stayed close to me, silent, eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. "All right," Allie said, voice calm but urgent. "We begin the final phase of testing. This is where we learn everything about the necklace's behavior. Any misstep, any exposure, and it could spread uncontrollably." I nodded, gripping the edge of the bench. My stomach churned with a mix of fear and anticipation. I had spent the day watching chaos unfold, the lawnmower, tentacles, neon blue slime, Mr. Limsky, the cops, and now it was all here, contained in this building, ready to be analyzed. Kelly began carefully placing the necklace into a high-tech containment chamber. Sensors blinked to life. Readings streamed across her tablet. Martin recorded every detail meticulously, occasionally whispering observations to himself. Allie monitored the room, her gaze sharp and unyielding. "Stay calm, stay alert, follow instructions, that's all you can do." I nodded mutely, trying to focus on breathing instead of the memories of the day. My hands were clammy, my mind spinning, but I forced myself to watch, to be present. The necklace pulsed faintly, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Neon blue threads of energy shimmered around it inside the chamber. It was beautiful in a grotesque, terrifying way. I couldn't look away. "What happens if it escapes?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Allie didn't flinch. "Then containment fails, and what you saw earlier could happen again. We cannot allow that." Minutes stretched into hours as the team worked, documenting every pulse, every reaction. My mind replayed Mr. Limsky's yard repeatedly, 12 hours of mowing, blue fluid, tentacles, chaos. It was surreal yet horrifyingly real. Finally, Allie stepped back, removing her gloves. "We have the data, we understand its behavior. Containment is successful. The risk is minimized for now." I exhaled slowly, relief washing over me. My family was safe. The nightmare, at least for the moment, was contained. Vanessa leaned against me, holding Keegan. "Is it over?" she asked quietly. "I think for now," I said, but even as I spoke, I knew better. The virus, the necklace, the chaos, it wasn't gone. It was only waiting for the next opportunity. Allie gathered her team. "We move on at first light, secure transport, no mistakes. We keep the necklace contained and we find a permanent solution. Until then, stay vigilant." I nodded. I would follow instructions. Survival depended on it. The world we knew was gone. The day had shown me that life could twist into unimaginable horror in the blink of an eye. And as I watched my family, I realized something else. Survival wasn't just about following orders. It was about staying together, staying aware, and never underestimating the dangers that lurked in the world, even in something as ordinary as a neighbor's lawn. The night passed slowly, but we remained safe. For now.